equity fund Catalyst Principal Partners has acquired Jambo Biscuits, makers of the Britania brand of biscuits. The brand has been on Kenya's retail shelves for the past 30 years and is known for a wide range of biscuits. Now, Catalyst says it spent part of an over $100 million kitty raised from its last cash call. Now, Catalyst's entry into the food manufacturing industry comes hardly a month after it bought a stake in regional printing and packaging family business Kensta Group. Newly appointed MD of Britania Foods, Kagundah, says capital injection into the new firm will go towards innovation of new products and diversifying their offering in the fast-moving consumer market. And joining me in the studio is Britania Foods Managing Director Kagundah. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. Now, we've mentioned all the areas you plan to change now that you're injecting money into the company. Give us a highlight of how much exactly was this acquisition, and certainly what does this new purchase mean for the company, and what are the changes we're going to see? Because this brand has been on Kenya's shelves for over 30 years.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on tonight. The big changes that you'll see with the acquisition, of course, is to the point you made earlier about innovation. The biscuit industry in Kenya and most parts of the world is a very fragmented business. And in Kenya, it's no less. We have three major players and quite a lot of imports coming into the market as well. So one of the things that Britania Foods will be known for is our innovation. In addition, we want to expand our distribution reach, both into our modern trade channels, which is, the supermarkets, but also into the what we call the general trade. So the kiosks, the groceries. We want biscuits to be found everywhere, and when biscuits are found, we want them to be Britania biscuits. Yeah.
Now, you talked about expanding reach, and I know that you're also thinking about expanding out of Kenya. Give us some insight into your plans there. What are the countries you're targeting? Any new deals in the works right now?
Sure. For most FMCGs playing in Kenya or in East Africa, Kenya tends to be about 70% of the business. But our neighbors to the east and the south, Tanzania and Uganda, present pretty sizable opportunities. So we plan to actually move into East Africa. But before we move out into some of these other countries, we want to actually strengthen our business here, our local business, gain market share, and win consumers back. Because 30 years after, some consumers have actually forgotten that Britania still makes great biscuits. And so we want to win those consumers back, drive market share, ensure that we're present everywhere, and then move into Tanzania, Uganda, and other countries.
Well, I'm sure we haven't forgotten Britania. I remember eating Britania biscuits when I was a kid.
Yeah, most people do, actually.
Well, let's talk about Kenya's rapidly expanding FMCG sector. We've seen a lot of international firms trying to penetrate the market. It's certainly not the same picture it was 30 years ago, for example. What is the environment like right now in Kenya's FMCG sector in the face of increasing competition?
Well, the FMCG business industry in Kenya is driven by a couple of key fundamental developments. One of them, of course, is that households have got more income. And so, more income means that they're going to spend on consumer goods. We've also seen a lot of urbanization. So, you find a lot of people that used to work in the farms are now moving into the city and looking for jobs. In addition to that, consumer tastes and preferences have just grown. When Britania was launched, there were probably one of only two biscuit companies. We now have the three major local companies, but we also have another probably 30 or 40 imports that come into the market. So consumers have a lot more choice, they have a lot more variety, and they're demanding it. And one of the things that the FMCG business must do in order to succeed is to remain innovative and to ensure that you have products for consumers at all price levels. So everything from the supermarket shopper down to the kiosk shopper. And this is one of the things that Britania Foods is going to be doing very shortly.
Now give me some insight into your revenue targets, both in the long term and short term. Of course, in the face of growing competition, quite a number of brands in Kenya right now. many international brands as well.
Yeah.
So for a local company, what are your targets? Give me
well,
the numbers.
That's obviously that's a tough question to answer. I wouldn't give the exact numbers, but I'll say that the three local manufacturers control about 80% of the biscuit business in Kenya, and then imports makes for the other 20%. We have a very ambitious plan to actually to grow faster than our competitors. Of course, because I'm sure they're listening, I probably won't give out, all the secrets, but it's a very competitive space, and consumers are looking for great quality, great variety, and new stuff. I don't think that what got us here 30 years ago is necessarily going to get us over the next 30 years.
Strategy as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Thank
of course,
you very
that's
much for
Robert Kagundah. He's the Managing Director of Britania Biscuits.